This week on the Gruppetto, we are in the baking heat of the Vuelta A España. I'll recap every twist and turn as we do every week, this time concentrating on everything that happened from Portugal to Andalusia and then to the big transfer day. There are also big feats from Lidl teammates, and what's one of those Lidl-Trek teammates that we're going to meet this week through the eyes of a good mate of his and a colleague of ours, Anders Mielke. We'll be talking Mattias Skjelmose later on. First though, let's recap everything that happened on a crazy, topsy-turvy week at the Vuelta. We've got a surprise leader and plenty of action. Over the opening weekend, Wout van Aert had been third, second, and he began this week finishing first. It's safe to say he was flying. A sprint win on the final day in Portugal before the race then entered Spain. A couple of days in red for van Aert ended when the Vuelta reached the first of its goat tracks. A left turn onto double-digit gradients, 5 kilometers from the top of Pico Villuercas in Extremadura, and the favourites came out to play properly for the first time. Pavel Sivakov, Primož Roglič, and then Felix Gall all showed strength with around 4Ks to the line. Enric Mas looked good, as did Lennart van Eertveld, with some of their bigger rivals seemingly sticking to the cement roads. Gall was caught with 2.7 kilometers to go. João Almeida then emerged from the massive UAE Emirates jerseys to look the strongest in his own team, making a good pitch for the leadership. Mikel Landa made it on. Landismo was alive and was dreaming. Van Eertveld made one final attack, lifted his arm, began to celebrate, but realised halfway that the summit, like almost all at this Vuelta in the last few years, had been Roglified. Other victims such as Julian Alaphilippe would have been triggered just watching it. Roglic did a lot of early damage to others' aspirations, and for all of the noise, the Vuelta song remained the same. It was classic Roglic, his sprints to the line, the new play to the whistle. Stage 5 meant Seville, a long, slow siesta-style day that ended with Pavel Bittner taking the sweetest moment of his short career to date. 24 hours later, there were surreal scenes at the start. A midweek supermarket sweep, courtesy of the Vuelta sponsors. The riders lined up for the beginning inside a branch of Carrefour. Yes, never mind the game show, it was a strange show. With the heat touching almost 40 degrees every day in Andalusia, where the race was to spend the rest of the week, the riders would have been desperate to start in the frozen aisle. Eyes opened by the offers, the race then went bananas when they left the shop. A good-sized break snapped elastic that had been stretched, with most of the bunch wanting to get up the road at some point. After a daring attack, a good distance from the finish, super strong legs and a lack of cohesion in the trolley dash behind, Ben O'Connor checked out with 2 for 1. Both stage win and leader's jersey on offer, coming with a bonus time gap of almost 5 minutes in the GC lead. Some were already wondering if it was closing time and the Vuelta had been won already. Rivals Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe were open all hours though, and on a day that seemed destined for some sort of sprint, lit it up on a climb 25 k's from the finish of stage 7 in Cordoba. Most fast riders were shelled. Roglic took 6 bonus seconds back on a climb, but Van Aert won for a second time in the sprint, with Sepp Kuss, climbing domestique Sepp Kuss, turned superb man on the flat, doing a mighty job to control things all on his own as UAE were on the attack, first through Soler and then with Sivakov. A fast finish in the hills above Cazorla brought drama to the start of the weekend. More full-gas racing and a breakaway that looked set for glory. That until it was caught on the final climb. The steep ramp seeing a crash at the bottom and an already struggling Almeida behind it. At the front, it was all about Roglic. Again, the 3-time Vuelta winner overall getting the better of Mas, just ahead at the finish line for a 13th stage win down the years at his favourite race. More importantly, perhaps, he took almost a minute of the hefty O'Connor lead back. It seemed like the comeback was on. The leaders' Decathlon Age Desert team policed as 26 riders made it up the road on the final day of the week. one of the hardest stages of the whole race, made more difficult by the blazing sunshine and oppressive heat. But it was now without Almeida, who tested positive for COVID-19 and who had therefore failed to start. UAE Emirates set about changing their race situation. Adam Yates alongside Vine and Soler, the headline names of the big move after strong work by teammates. Yates went solo in the heart of Sierra Nevada, roads he knew well from numerous training camps. That was at 58 kilometres from the finish in Granada, a move perhaps precipitated by the advancing Richard Carapaz. The Ecuadorian former Giro winner had been in the peloton at just under 90 k's to go when he made an impressive attack and started to move across the 5 minutes to the front of the race. The EF Education Easy Postman wouldn't see Yates until the finish line, however. The British star bringing home arguably the most impressive victory of his career, getting himself back into the GC fight in the process. The latter part of that assessment also applied to Carapaz, whose second place catapulted him up onto third on the overall podium with 2 weeks still to ride. The leader O'Connor defended superbly. Sensing that Roglic was suffering, Mas had tried and succeeded to get a gap, although a late scare and strong work in the chasing group behind meant that he wouldn't gain anything. The only rider to take something from the favourites group was the red jersey himself, sprinting to third place and taking 4 bonus seconds. Ben O'Connor leads the Vuelta A España at the end of the first racing block by 3 minutes and 53 seconds from Primož Roglic. Yates now finds himself in the top 10. Anything and everything can still happen. As well as Yates winning, UAE were also enjoying success in France, as Mark Hirschi's late attack brought home another bit of glory before he leaves at the end of the season for Tudor. That win in Plouay came just after Misha Bredevold had taken her first win since June in the Women's One-Day Classic. The European champion beat Chloe Dygert into second place, with Liana Lippert third and Elisa Balsamo back on form, winning the bunch sprint behind. All this talk of teams winning everywhere reminds me, over in Germany there was a rather special feat achieved by Lidl-Trek. Jonathan Milan was off the Olympic boards and back on the road, but he kept his pursuing head on as he won the prologue in Schweinfurt, pulling on the first leader's jersey at the Deutschland Tour. The Italian fast man backed that up by showing his sprint legs the day after to take the first stage proper. Teammate Mads Pedersen was passed the baton the following day, and I think you can see where we're going with this, can't you? The weekend arrived and back came Milan for more. A third stage win in 4 days for him, keeping the Lidl-Trek 100% record intact. There would be no supermarket starts for the supermarket team, but there were stage wins aplenty on offer in the middle aisle. Every single day, in fact. Completing the set with the win from a small group on day 5 was Pedersen once again. The Dane taking the overall general classification for his efforts too. Their sponsors, also coincidentally the race sponsors, would have been pleased. Now, last week on the Gruppetto, we asked you your opinion in the comments below and our @Eurosport Cycling YouTube channel on what happened at the Tour de France Femmes. Demi following that crash, was she well supported enough or not? Well, most of you seem to agree that she could have had a little bit more support. We're going to try and make your say a regular feature of the Gruppetto, so remember to keep the comments coming and keep them clean if you'd like them displayed on the screen the week after. This week we want to know if the Vuelta A España took advantage enough of its days in Portugal. Were there a few too many snooze fests? Should we have seen Lisbon displayed beautifully as we know it is on the streets on that time trial? Maybe even got to know one of the mountains from the famous Volta a Portugal. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and again we'll revisit the topic next week. Now to visit the topic of Mattias Skjelmose with our very own Anders Mielke. So I'm here with Anders Mielke from Eurosport Denmark. You'll know him, you've seen him out and about the Giro D'Italia, the Tour de France. He's back commentating the Vuelta A España at the minute, and I'd like to catch up with Anders about Mattias Skjelmose. Anders, he's a rider who we talk about a lot. I'm not sure we know him enough though. Who is Mattias Skjelmose?
Oh, that's a good question, Rob. First and foremost, he's a world-class bike rider, and second, he's a really good lad. He's a fighter. Probably some of you guys know what he's been through when he came up through the amateurs and when he was a junior, one of the best talents in Europe. Then Trek took him in, and I think we're gonna talk a lot about this now. But from what I heard from Mattias, and from what I also heard when he re-signed with the team last year after he won the Tour de Suisse, is that they have a common goal together to stand on a Grand Tour podium, and the Vuelta is part of that now. It's the first proper time he's going full on for the GC. He's done the Giro before, he's done the Tour, and if you look at the team he has around him, this is a really good opportunity for him to do a great GC result.
He seems like he's been around forever, but he's still very much in his early 20s. I was commentating a couple of years ago when he won in Luxembourg, and that was the first time I started to take him seriously as a GC contender. We know he can time trial for the size and stature he has, but what else does he have? What else does he have? I know he seems to have this very strong mentality that comes in a lot of Danish good bike riders. We've seen it with Pearson, we've seen it with Vingegaard, several other riders who've been good on the track as well. Did he move to Andorra, am I right in thinking?
Yeah, he moved to Andorra last year during the off season, and he spent a lot of weeks during the summer, not in his own house, but on the top in Andorra, actually with his Swanee from Lidl-Trek, Eugenio Alafaccio, who's a former rider himself, Italian soigneur, and they have a really special relationship together. He's there in the Vuelta with him, his coach and his agent, his manager. Many of you will probably remember him from the Vuelta 2006, Egoy Martinez. He won a stage at the Polka Dot. And he's been Mattias's coach and manager since early days. So, and that's the thing with Mattias. I think this Vuelta now, the way we are following his career, he's getting better season by season. Like, it's nice to see how organic his development is. And you have Alafaccio, who's with him now. He's soigneur. They have a great relationship. He has Martinez, his coach. They have a great collaboration together. And then he has Kim Andersen in the car behind him. Kim Andersen, also a fellow Dane, but he's probably one of the most experienced Grand Tour DSs in the cars. He was with CSC, with Saxo Bank, with Leopard Trek. He's been with Trek ever since. He's been with the Schleck brothers. And I think Kim is really, really important for Mattias also to guide him. That's the thing you hear from many of the riders who have been working with Kim. He is very, very calm, even in the most spicy moments of the race. And Mattias is a guy who has a lot of belief in himself. And I think to have Kim around him in the years to guide him, I think that's going to be a crucial part of getting in the top 10 or the top 5 of the GC of the Vuelta.
Is that the aim? Top 10, top 5? I mean, because the reason I asked for sort of a concrete aim, I know you know him well, he's one of those guys who was talking about the Vuelta. And we don't get this much every winter, do we? It's often Giro Tour, and then we'll wait and see about the Vuelta. But right from the start of the season, Skjelmose was saying, no, this is my aim for the season. Yes, I'll go to the Tour de Suisse, because he won there the year before as well, and then I'll go to the Vuelta España. What was the proper aim? In his, if you can open the door to us, because I know he'll say things to the press, maybe take the pressure off, but what was he really hoping from this race?
Yeah, I think he sat down with Kim Andersen, and they had a talk about the season. And I think Kim was quite confident in the beginning, already saying that Mattias, you should go for the Vuelta, because already back then it was known that Pogacar was doing the Giro, and all the big stars was doing the Tour. And we have to remember Mattias is still under their level, and he knows that. So the Vuelta was something to look forward to, something to build up to Theo Gegenhardt also coming into the team, giving him the space to go for the Tour. He's been very unlucky. He's now with Mattias as a domestique. Everything can change in cycling. But I think Kim Andersen also took his experiences with Anders Mielke, going Ardennes, focusing on the Ardennes, then doing either Swiss or Dauphiné, and then going full on a Grand Tour. And I think there's a lot of pressure on Mattias because Lidl came in. There's a lot of money they're invested in the team now, but the biggest pressure is on himself. He wants to deliver. I think the team has an ambition to go for top 10, top 5. That would be great. I think Mattias himself, he thinks he can do top 5. I don't know, but from what I know, Mattias, I think he's going into this Vuelta the way he's has prepared himself, suffering himself in the altitude. He's going for top 5. But we have also to remember he did the Giro in 2022, his first Grand Tour. They went to the Giro because he was dealing well with colder weather. That Giro in 22 was maybe the warmest Giro in history.
Yeah.
But he crashed many times. I was surprised to see him actually just to finish the Giro. Then he went to the Tour, and I think a lot of people have forgot this, but he was actually in the top 10, top 7, the first 5 days of the Tour, which was really tough in the best country. Then he crashed the day that Hindley took the yellow jersey, and he was suffering with back pain for the rest of the Tour. So we still have left to see him performing over 3 weeks. We have seen him performing in one-day races and in stage races. Now he has to show everyone in the Vuelta that he's able to do GC in a Grand Tour.
And as you and I are speaking on, what is it, morning 6 now, I think, of the Vuelta a España. We've already had one uphill finish. He lies 8th at the moment. Things might have changed, by the way, by the time you watch this on the Gruppetto. A couple of other big mountain stages to come. And the reason I mentioned the time, the day, you mentioned it there. First few days, he's gone pretty well in his other couple of Grand Tours so far. That was one of the things that really sort of had my eyebrows pricking up during the winter. He said he needs to get beyond that day 6, day 7. What has he been doing, to try and work on that? Because I think that was one of the specific things that he was going to work on in training this year.
No, I think they have developed together, him and Martinez, his coach. I don't know specific what they have done. They have done more altitude this year. I think the Tour de France, he was really, really strong in the Tour last year. And if he didn't crash, we don't know what he would have ended up doing in the Tour. So for me, I'm confident that he will be well also in the second week. But we still have to see him in the third week. I think it's going to be very exciting to see. Skjelmose is a fighter, man. We call him like a kind of a street dog. He takes a lot of fights himself also in the peloton. If you look at him, he's not afraid to give an elbow to the big guys. And he's always there in the crosswinds. He's been under the wings of Mads Pedersen. He has all the qualities to become a great Grand Tour rider. He climbs well. He sprints uphill well. He does great time trials, as you mentioned, Rob. So I can't wait to see where he's in the end to Madrid. But I heard an interview because we've had the first mountain finish to Pico Vallecas, and he lost over 40 seconds. Of course, he was disappointed about that, but he was also quite relieved that he acknowledged that he had a bad day. He was not feeling well on the steep parts, and
it was a hot day as well, wasn't it?
Hot day as well. Other riders like Adam Yates, Carapaz losing more time. And he said, if that was my bad day, we hear this saying a lot in the Grand Tours, but if that was a bad day for me, 40 seconds is nothing in this Vuelta. And that's a thing we have to remember about this Vuelta. I think we're going to see minutes lost 1 point and minutes gained a week later. So, yeah, it's going to be a big mathematical sheet we have to look at the end of the Vuelta.
Of course, ending with a 25-kilometer time trial into Madrid as well, instead of the usual procession up and down through Atocha and finish up at Cibeles. Let's move on because, you know, Danish cycling in rude health, it has been for some time now, on the road, on the track, absolutely superb in all sorts of aspects. You've got Mars Pedersen, you've got Jonas. Where does Mattias sit in sort of the general public's perspective? Does the general public know who Mattias Skjelmose is?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, Danish champion last year. Now Danish champion in time trial. He's very open in his interviews,
Mm-hmm.
which the Danish fans like. That he gives a lot from himself, and I think also being under the wings of Mads Pedersen has helped him a lot. Not only growing as a cyclist, but also as a figure with the medias. So yeah, for sure. I mean, you have Vingegaard, you have Mads Pedersen, then you have maybe Magnus Kort, and then Skjelmose. You also have Askren and Mikkel Bjerg. I mean, yeah, it's a golden generation at the moment. But we have to remember he's still young, Skjelmose, and there's a lot of future in him. And yeah, and after the Vuelta, I think I can almost guarantee that he's going to be the captain for and the leader for the Danish team for the Worlds. Now Vingegaard is not doing it, so he has everything for himself there. And I know that Mads Pedersen and Mattias Skjelmose had a little gentleman brother agreement together that Skjelmose would support Mads 100% for the Olympics,
Mm-hmm.
and Mads is going to the Worlds, doing everything in his power to help Skjelmose getting a medal. So unfortunately, we haven't seen them racing so much together this year because Mads is doing Spring Classics, the couples and everything, and Mattias is doing Ardennes. I think they've only raced together in the Paris-Nice and Nationals and Olympics. So I'm gonna be it's gonna be excited to see them together in the Worlds.
And just while you're on the subject of Jonas there, news filtering out this week that we don't expect him to race again this season. Is that true?
Yeah, it's confirmed by the team. There's a lot of talk right now in Denmark about it because the federation didn't hear anything from Jonas. They had to read it and hear it through the medias, and they are quite disappointed about it. But we have to remember Jonas is who he is. He's not a guy who picks up his phone and and call everyone to tell he's out, and it's something that is up for the team. So yeah, there's a lot of discussion about it now because you have a guy like Mads Pedersen who wants to do everything for Skjelmose at the Worlds. Mads also said it during the Tour de France that he hoped that Jonas would go to the Worlds. I would love to race for him together. So he has had a lot of invitations to go for the World Championships, but his wife Trine is that they're waiting their second child, and I think it's due here in September. So he has other priorities, as we have to respect. But yeah, it's confirmed that he will not race anymore this season.
Well, teams versus federations and national teams, I mean, that's something that's always gone on in cycling. And until there's a dramatic change of the model, that's always going to carry on. Anders, I think the Vuelta is going to start on day 6, so we better let you get you into the commentary box. One final word from you. Any other Danish riders we should be looking out for while we're watching the Vuelta?
Yeah, definitely look out for Andreas Kron, good childhood friend of mine. We used to do 6 days races when we were kids on the track. And we were actually team number 6, the Red Devils.
They're the
And
team that you have to be if you want to win, isn't it? I think up in
exactly
the Copenhagen 6 day.
the most aggressive team. No, 7 is the
That's the
favorite,
winning team, is it?
but 6 is the most aggressive team. They call the Red Devils. And speaking of, I know the Gruppetto is going out after today's stage 6. But I was on the phone with Andreas last night, and he's aiming for La Roja, for the red jersey, and probably the stage win today. He was climbing really well on Pico Viercas, actually finishing in front of Skjelmose. They're good friends, so they have a little competition going on there. They train together in Andorra. So no, and let's say he doesn't get the red jersey or neither the stage on stage 6. He's in his shape of his life. So look out for Kron. Look also out for Kasper Eskren. I think he's very hungry to show something being left out from the Tour was a big bummer for him, and he has to get something out of the last part of the season. So if Landismo let him go in the breaks during the Vuelta, I'm also excited to see Eskren.
Thank you very much, Anders. We'll see if your crystal ball was right. If not, we'll cut it out. Don't you worry. Good luck, mate.
Well done. Thanks. Cheers, mate.
Thirsty work this week, hasn't it, on the Vuelta? 9 stages down, but still plenty more to come. 2 weeks of racing, in fact, and 12 stages still to go. The peloton are now in northwest Spain in Galicia. They got on the plane last evening. I'm talking to you on the rest day on Monday. When they landed, they'll have found a 10-degree difference in temperature. Quite cool, relatively, compared to the south of Spain. Only mid-20s. Plus a bit of wind about, plenty of hills still about. Also a different language to contend with. Spain is a wonderfully diverse country in both its geography and its people, and we're about to see more of that in week 2. The second week of the Vuelta takes the riders from Galicia to Asturias. I'm in Asturias now and I'll join the race for a few days next week. You can watch every single day this week, however, on Eurosport and on Discovery+. Carlton's back, all is back in the chair and the breakaway as well. Each and every stage will be live and on demand. Don't forget to check out our short form highlights on the Eurosport Cycling YouTube channel as well. It isn't the only racing on this week. There's the classic style racing of the North, the Renewy Tour, the old Benelux Tour takes place. You can watch each and every stage live and on demand. It's Eurosport and Discovery+. For now though, from the Gruppetto, I'll be joining you live from Asturias next week. I'll be bringing you a few interviews along the way. We'll be talking usual Gruppetto stuff. And yes, even though I'm watching from home and the sofa this week, I'll be here to review the action and tell you everything that happens. It's going to be a bumper week, isn't it? Don't miss it. Hasta la semana que viene. Adiós.